Rasha, just curious, do you have access to the conversion rate of our...
Okay, we have Andy, we have started the session. You can directly message me here as well.
Okay.
Hi everyone, we'll be starting the free program preview here of the VT Cloud Computing Bootcamp. Meanwhile, we've started the session early and I see a few early joiners here as well. So let's start with a quick introduction on the chat here, and we would love to know where are you joining us from. So I'm Rasha Khan, I'm your host for today's webinar, and I'm joining from all the way from Bangalore, India, and we would love to know where are you tuning in from. So you can let us know on the chat here by putting down your name and where are you tuning in from. Also, I see that we actually are live on our YouTube chat box as well. And I see a lot of you folks have already joined us there as well. So welcome everyone. We'll be starting the session in a few minutes right on time. I see a lot of early joiners here, and you can let us know your introductions on the chat here, and we'd love to get to know you a little better. It's always good to network, right? These events before we start. Awesome. I see Abu Bakr has joined us from America. Where in America would love to know. I see Esther has joined us from Minnesota here. So welcome. Thank you so much for the introductions. We'll be starting the session right on time in a minute or so. Meanwhile, I see folks are still joining in, and folks who have joined us live on our YouTube channel as well. So we're streaming live there as well. So please do give us your introductions on the YouTube live chat box. You can let us know your name and where are you tuning in from. So we would love to know that before we start the session. So once again, Rasha Khan here. I'm your host for today's webinar. and I'm joining all the way from Bangalore, India. So it's fantastic to have you all on board, and we'll be starting the session in a few minutes. Thank you so much. Abu Bakr says has joined us from Columbus, Ohio. Thank you so much for sharing that. I see Charan Teja joining us from Dallas on our YouTube live chat box. Thank you so much for the introduction. Once again, welcome everyone. Meanwhile, you folks are joining in and we'll be starting the session. Meanwhile, let's quickly go through a few quick ground rules we have here for the session here. So for folks who are still joining us, just to let you know that we're just quickly going through the ground rules here before we start the session. So you can give us your introductions on the chat here if you've joined us on live on Zoom or our YouTube channel. And so you need to put down your questions in the Q&A box if you have a question for our speaker. And also the session is being recorded. You can expect a follow-up email with recording link and also the webinar certificate. So now the webinar certificate is only for the folks who go and put down their full name in the post-webinar survey by Zoom. So what is exactly the post-webinar survey? So basically this webinar is of 60 minutes of duration. And once the webinar ends, you get a pop-up by Zoom, which is a post-webinar survey, just for your feedback, how did you like the session, and also for the certificate as well. So if you want the webinar certificate, you need to stay till the end of the session and also fill this post-webinar survey with your full name, which you would like to see in the webinar certificate. So in case you have any questions about the post-webinar survey, we can answer it towards the end. So I'll just basically remind you once again towards the end of the session. So let me know if you have any questions about these ground rules here. Happy to help. This program is powered by Simplilearn, world's #1 online bootcamp. We have been in the digital skills training space for almost a decade now, and we are very proud of that we have transformed lives by empowering people via these digital skills. We have advanced over 5 lakh plus careers in over 150 plus countries. We have 800 plus qualified trainers here who basically help us beat these amazing programs we have on Simplilearn. Now let's quickly talk about the agenda of today's session. So we'll be talking about how we can help you out in a career better. And we'll be talking about cloud computing careers in 2024. We'll be taking you through the program introduction of the UT Dallas Cloud Computing Bootcamp and also the enrollment steps of the program after you basically share your interest towards enrollment and a duration for the Q&A part of the session. So we'll try to answer as many questions as possible throughout the session if our speaker gets time. But if you are not able to answer it, please have some patience. Please go and put on your questions in the Q&A box and we'll try to address as many questions as possible throughout the session and also towards the end. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I see a lot of new folks have joined. So I see Davis has joined us from Nigeria. Edith has joined us from London. Aini has joined us from UK. And Zara has joined us from VA. I'm so sorry, I cannot make out what VA is exactly. Please do let me know. And I see Charan Teja has joined us from Dallas on YouTube as well, and a lot of other folks as well joining us. So let's quickly start the session. But before that, would love to introduce our speaker, Andy Lewis here, who will be taking us through the program review here of the UT Dallas Cloud Computing Bootcamp. Andy, would like to welcome you and thank you for taking the time out for this program review here. Would love to know a little bit about you for the crowd here before we start the session.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for showing up. My name is Andy Lewis, so I'm going to be talking alongside Rasha here in order to give you an insight on the course and what you can gain from taking this course. I myself have been in the IT industry since 1999, and I've been in the aerospace industry my whole career. And I also got into the corporate training game back in 2008, where I really started off as a Java developer and then a Java instructor. So my grassroots really are in development and still are. Then kind of transitioned to the whole containerization phase. And back in about 2015, started getting into the cloud. So that's pretty much why we're here today. We're going to talk about the cloud. I find myself now a certified AWS and Google instructor teaching for
Thank you.
Simplilearn. Yeah,
Thank you
go
so
ahead.
much, Andy, for the introduction. And once again, welcome to this program preview here. So here I see a lot of new folks who have joined us. We're just starting with the session and we just did our speaker introduction here. So before we start, as I mentioned earlier, we would love to know a little bit about you. So let's start with a quick poll here. So how many years of experience do you currently have? So you can see a quick poll launched on your screen, which is a single choice kind of poll. Now, when I talk about experience here, I'm talking about work experience here, in case anyone has any questions about what kind of experience we're expecting here in answers of. Also, there are 4 quick options you can choose from. The first one here is currently studying. Second one, 0 to 3 years. Third one, 3 to 5 years. And the last one, more than 5 years. For folks who have joined us live on YouTube, you can let us know by choosing the options 1, 2, 3, 4 on the YouTube live chat box. Awesome. As I was speaking, most of you have already started sharing the responses for the poll here. That's great. I think let's give it like 5 to 10 seconds more. And then we'll end the poll and also share the results with you folks. A lot of you new folks have joined us while we were doing the agenda and also the introduction of our speaker. So just as a reminder, I'll just quickly share those things on the chat here in case you've missed anything. So please don't worry about that. And as I was speaking, most of you have shared responses for the poll here. And we are getting responses on the YouTube live chat box as well. That's great, folks. Keep it coming. You can just share with us as a response as 1, 2, 3, 4 as options on the YouTube live chat box. So I think last 5 seconds for the poll here. How many years of experience do you currently have? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me quickly end the poll and also share the results with you folks here. Let's see what have you voted for. So we have gotten 47% of votes for currently studying. We have gotten 27% of votes for more than 5 years. And we have gotten 20% for 0 to 3 years and 7% for 3 to 5 years. And from the YouTube live chat box, we have gotten a lot of responses for the first poll here, currently studying here. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And let's start with the session's first agenda here about careers in cloud computing in 2024 here. So Andy, as we start about talking about cloud computing here, we can start with talking about what are the hottest skills in the cloud computing space in 2024. As you can see, there are so many skills here. Maybe you can shed some light on few of the skills folks can take up in cloud computing space.
Absolutely. So as you can see, there's many bullets here. So I would say, one of the big ones is really the cloud migration. So lots of companies have already migrated to the cloud, but if you haven't already, or if you're thinking, how would I even do something like that? You're one of millions of companies that are in that same boat. So, how to migrate from your on-premise infrastructure to the cloud infrastructure is really your first step. And so it's all about acquiring knowledge and then how to lift and shift as quickly as possible, and then kind of, go through an iterative process on the cloud once you're there. So I would definitely say cloud migration is really, extremely important right there. The other thing that's very important on this slide is multi-cloud deployment. So, there's not only, let's say, AWS in the cloud space. There's many other companies like Azure, Google, etc. And so lots of companies are also leveraging multiple clouds in order to diversify their investment and also improve their fault tolerance. So those are other, topics that we address in the course. And of course, as you can see here, there's many other points here, and we could fill up, 30 pages of all the important stuff. But those I would say those are two, really big things on this slide right now: multi-cloud and cloud migration, just to set it off.
Thank you so much for taking us to these hottest skills here in the cloud computing space in 2024. We have gotten a demand for the career paths as well on the YouTube live chat box. So can you take us through these trending career paths in cloud computing in 2024 and beyond?
Sure. So as you can see, there are many kind of certifications or learning paths. And, a lot of these have some overlap, thankfully, right? So that we don't have to relearn everything from scratch. And also, again, across cloud providers, that would be the same. So I would say the first kind of one you want to tackle is really the solutions architect role, right? The solutions architect role is going to have you get a sense of what is available, what is out there, kind of like a view of the forest before you dive into, cutting down some trees, so to speak. So it talks about architecture, what is storage, what is networking, what are the machine learning services out there, what about security, all that kind of stuff, and how to connect them together. Once you've got that under your belt, that is what's very common between that course or that learning path with all the other ones. And then you can build on top and specialize. So, for example, let's say later on you wanted to specialize in DevOps. So you wanted to build yourself like CI, CD pipelines, which are continuous integration and continuous deployment pipelines. You can actually go and automate that whole process and help the operations team and help the development team actually follow along. Again, what's really hot today, machine learning, right? And that bleeds into generative AI, which is a really hot topic today too. So it'll really depend after the solutions architect one where you kind of want to delve. If you're a developer, if you're a system administrator, if you're a DevOps, if you're more security oriented. So that's my advice is, start with the first one on the list. And then based on your job role and your interest, of course, you might want to expand your career. You go down one of these other paths.
Sounds interesting. Thank you so much, Andy, for taking us through these cloud computing careers here. We'll be talking more about that and answering your questions as well in anything related to career transition in cloud computing. Please do let us know if you have any questions in the Q&A box here. And folks who have joined us in YouTube on the YouTube live chat box. So we have talked about the skills here. We have talked about what careers will be trending in cloud computing 2024 and beyond. But what exactly is changing in the cloud computing space for 2024? What's interesting? What's upcoming?
Yeah. So here, as you can see here, quantum computing, that's in the news, maybe not as much as AI right now, as we all know, since last, June or July, since ChatGPT came out, like kind of an explosion, the AI wars, so to speak. So, I mean, this could also be on the slide, but quantum computing, of course, is inaccessible physically to, people that don't have billions of dollars, like large corporations. So we can get to tie into that, infrastructure that's available on the cloud, whether it be with Azure or with AWS, et cetera. They have the interfaces for us to connect to in order to experiment with quantum computing, which is still kind of new, of course. But that goes with all the other things I just said about AI too. Right now, AI is a very hot topic, and there's already tools available to make efficient use of any data that you have in order to turn out images or search text, or there's many applications to generative AI. The other one is serverless. So serverless is kind of a marketing term that's used out there. Of course, there are servers. It's just that you and I are not managing them. We're just concentrating on our code, on our application, and that makes us deploy and concentrate on our application much better, brings us better business value, right? So we don't have to patch servers, deploy servers, all that kind of stuff. So that is a very, very big technology for the last couple of years, serverless. So we definitely concentrate on that in the course. What is serverless? What are the services in that space, and how we can architect our application using a serverless architecture. So there are many other points here, but I would say those are the big ones right now. Serverless, also edge, right? So edge just means that there is a network provided by the cloud provider, and that's the core network. But then there's an extension of that network that goes to many populated areas around the world. Like think of like New York City or something like that. It's a very populated area, right? So they kind of extend to the edge of their network, and that allows us to gain better performance or lower latency on our application. So it's all about performance, right? So edge computing is a big thing there as well. So many interesting developments going on here in this cloud computing space right now.
Thank you so much, Andy, for talking about these interesting things which are changing the cloud computing space here. Sorry. So we have talked about the skills here. We've talked about the careers in cloud computing, which will be trending, and we've talked about what is changing in the cloud computing space for 2024. So we would love to know what exactly is stopping you from becoming a cloud computing expert here. You can see a quick poll launched by Zoom here on your screen. This one is a multiple choice poll, so you can select multiple options here because there can be multiple concerns when it comes to pursuing a career in cloud computing or transitioning into one. So for folks who have joined us live on YouTube, you can let us know by options 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just read out those options for you as well. As I can see, a lot of you folks have already started sharing responses for the poll here. So what exactly is stopping you from becoming a cloud computing expert? The first option here is I can't find a program with a fully comprehensive curriculum. Second one is I wouldn't get the practical exposure I need to become job ready. And third one is I find it difficult to learn from pre-recorded videos. And the last one, my work schedule won't allow me enough time for learning. So as I was speaking, I see a lot of you have already started responding for the poll here. That's great. In case this poll does not cover your challenge or your concern when it comes to pursuing a career in cloud computing, you let us know in the Q&A box as well, your query. And we'll be taking up queries from the Q&A box in some time. Meanwhile, please do let us know if you have any questions in the YouTube live chat box as well for folks who have joined us on YouTube. So I see folks on YouTube have also started responding on the chat box here. I see Nelson has selected the option 2 here. I wouldn't get the practical exposure. I need to become job ready. And I see Chanel has basically selected the first option here. I can't find a program with a fully comprehensive curriculum. So keep the basically responses coming in. I think we'll just give 5 seconds more for the poll here because I see most of you have responded for the poll, but few of you are still thinking about it. So awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Last 5 seconds, folks, for the poll here. What's stopping you from becoming a cloud computing expert? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me quickly end the poll and also share the results with you folks. Let's see what have you voted for. So what is stopping you from becoming a cloud computing expert here? So we have gotten 52% of the votes for my work schedule won't allow me enough time for learning. And 48% for I wouldn't get the practical exposure I need to become job ready. And 30% for I can't find a program with a fully comprehensive curriculum. And 22% for I find it difficult to learn from pre-recorded videos. So thank you so much for sharing that with us and a lot of responses on the YouTube live chat box as well. That definitely gives us understanding what exactly is the challenge you're facing here. Now, let me introduce you to the UT Cloud Computing Bootcamp here. The UT Cloud Computing Bootcamp comes with a comprehensive and industry-aligned learning path. We'll be talking about the learning environment in the upcoming slides and sharing much more detail with you, what exactly the learning environment looks like. And you get access to integrated labs and projects for hands-on experience. We'll be talking more about what are these projects, how exactly are these projects going to help you out in your career once you're done with this program. And also the online live virtual classroom. So it's not just pre-recorded videos. You actually get to interact with the instructor here and what exactly happens in the live interaction, what does the learning environment looks like, what exactly is the process. We'll be talking more about that in the learning environment here. And also, as I saw that a lot of you actually are working professionals, have more than 5 years experience, and also are working professionals with fewer experience as well. So this program duration is only of 8 months and you can just complete it by giving 10 to 15 hours per week. It makes it very flexible to fit your schedule if you're working professional here. Now, the UT Dallas advantage here. What exactly is the advantage of having UT Dallas on your CV here? So UT Dallas is basically a very highly respected and acknowledged globally institution here. The University of Texas at Dallas here is a renowned institution with a rich history of academic excellence. And it is home to distinguished faculty members, researchers, fostering an environment of innovation and learning. It has been ranked consistently as a top tier research universities, providing students with access to cutting edge knowledge and resources. Also, I think a few of you asked about the eligibility and prerequisites here. So you may be from a non-programming background and a high school diploma or equivalent, and at least 80 years of age that is required for the program. And also know what experience is required for joining this program. You can start if you are a working professional or you basically are at least having a high school diploma for joining this program here. So now let's talk about how this program builds your skills step by step here. So basically, as we can see here, we start with the induction session for the Cloud Computing Bootcamp here, and we move towards the AWS Cloud fundamentals here. So Andy, can you take us through the steps here of the program?
Sure. So one thing to keep in mind here is that this is a multi-cloud program. Okay. So the first step is just introduction to, like Rasha just said, our learning management system, our LMS. That's about an hour, right, Rasha? I think it's about an hour or something like that. This little stepping stone here at the bottom.
Yeah.
After that, whereas the real training starts, the couple of days after, where you start with the fundamentals of the cloud, AWS. So, the view of the forest, all of those services that are available and across several categories. And that'll really be your first course to the cloud. So we'll really focus on what is the cloud, what are the benefits of the cloud, the different kind of architectures there. Then we really get into, some details on a per service basis. For example, how do we perform load balancing across a fleet of virtual machines across, multiple availability zones, right? Now, if that doesn't mean much to you, it's because, by that time we would have learned that. But, we got more into it in this class here. So you really become more of an architect here, building those services together, building fault recovery, disaster recovery, high availability, all these kind of terms that you're going to hear over and over again when we describe the best practices to you in architecture. And the nice thing is all of these best practices, they're not unique to just AWS. You're going to see them later on in the Azure course as well, right? But just they'll be done differently, okay? But the same goal will have to be attained. So nice thing is when you finish these two courses in AWS, and you go to Azure here on step number 4 here, you're not actually starting from zero anymore. I would say you're probably starting at 30% right off the bat, right? Because you bring over all those principles that we learned in the previous two classes. And now it's really just about learning the different service names that Microsoft comes up with in their Azure cloud, their, features that might be different. As you could imagine, we have different car companies, right? Well, we have different cloud companies. So everybody has the same stuff, but they call it different things. And, some have different features than others. So we kind of go through the same route with the Azure stuff. For the next 3 classes here, we start off slow and we go into more and more detail as it goes up. Then we kind of wrap around here and we go to DevOps on AWS, which is a new addition to the program. Okay. And we really see how to automate the provisioning of infrastructure in the cloud or the deployments of our applications in an automated fashion. So that's really what DevOps in a nutshell is all about. And you'll learn all about tooling in AWS to set that up. Things like code deploy, code pipeline, etc. There's many different services for different portions of that pipeline. And then at the end, you kind of put it all together and you create what's called, or you implement a capstone project. So that is proof, once you've done that, that you've understood all the concepts, that you're able to put it all together, and you can even showcase that to an employer to say, look, I've done this, capstone project, which showcases my skill set.
Thank you so much, Andy, for taking us through these cloud computing basically skills, how this program builds step by step. Now talking about the electives here, the UT release Cloud Computing Bootcamp Academic Master Classes and the Google Cloud Platform Architect Training. They are basically electives. They are optional. It is up to you if you want to take it up while you're taking up this program. So we don't charge anything extra for the electives here. So, and now let's talk about the tools and platforms they'll be learning in this program, Andy. As you can see, there are so many tools and platforms on the screen here, and which this program covers much more than that. Maybe you can shed some light on these few tools and platforms also.
Sure. So again, this slide is, I think the the most important thing of this slide, funny enough, is the little black text at the bottom and many more. Because I mean, if we're just talking AWS has over 200 services. Okay. And growing. I mean, the last time I checked, I think it was 230 something. So it's always growing. They're always innovating. And that's not just AWS. They might be the number one in there in terms of, the number of services they have, but they've also been there the longest. But Azure and all the other cloud providers also have, over 100 services. So, you know, what is S3 amongst all those services? Well, that's just it's about storage, really, but it's a specific type of storage. Something maybe you're not used to hearing, something called object storage, which is very different than the storage you have, let's say, on your disk or a shared file storage like NFS or something like that. So we get into what is object file storage, what are the benefits of object file storage, and guess what? This is the simple storage service. That's why it's called S3. But the other cloud providers also have object storage. So they also have their, names, like Azure calls it Azure Blob and Google calls it Google Storage or Cloud Storage. So, I mean, it's the same thing, but marketed under, just different names with some different features here and there. So we get into what object storage is. We get into what virtual machines are, right? So Azure and Google and AWS has virtual machines, of course, but AWS calls them Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2s, right? They come up with the most interesting names, AWS, and they're the hardest to remember, unfortunately. But after that, you'll notice that the other cloud providers, have easier names. So if you just want to work with virtual machines, deploy a web service. Well, that's EC2. Now, what happens if you want to connect your web server to some storage, right? Well, you can connect EC2 with S3. How? That's what I show you in the class, right? So I'll show you how, what these services are, how to use them, how to deploy them by themselves. But then we look at the architecting side, the best practices side, and see how we can connect them and have high availability and disaster recovery and all that kind of stuff. And the last point I just want to touch on is databases, right? Everybody needs a database in one form or another. So we have SQL databases. We also have things called NoSQL databases, which again, what are the differences? We go into that in the class, when to use what. And DynamoDB is one of those NoSQL databases that falls under a particular category. And it's extremely scalable and serverless, no servers to manage. You just create your tables, write your queries, and it's a global database, right? So all of these services are available across all the cloud providers, but we in this course are going to focus mainly on AWS, as you saw, and Microsoft Azure.
Thank you so much, Andy, for taking us through tools and platforms this program will be covering. Now, moving on to the Capstone projects here. So the Capstone projects which you get to work on this program. So how exactly are these Capstone projects important for folks who are taking up the program once they're done with the program? Because I saw that you have responded in the Q&A box as well to someone that how important it is, like these certifications, having a portfolio. Like basically once you're getting out there and trying to showcase your experience for someone who does not have any experience in cloud computing.
Yeah. So one thing that's important to note is that you don't wait to the whole end of the program to do any projects, right? Every class and every course has projects, right? So you're kind of building up, right? Doing little projects, intermediate projects, and then at the end of the entire journey, right, which you were mentioning it was 8 months, you have these capstone projects. You have several of them, and I'll share my screen later on, Rasha, when you give me a chance, and I'll showcase these at a very high level. And you get to pick the one that interests you the most, and it's at the highest difficulty level, right? There's not a lot of holding your hands while you're doing that, and you need to incorporate all the knowledge that you've attained over the last 8 months, plus all the practices you've done with the smaller and intermediate projects to put that into place. And that is what is so valuable to show to an employer, is that, look, I was able to attain this difficulty level. And I think, by showcasing that, that'll really help your chances of incurring employment.
Thank you so much for answering that, Andy. I hope it clears for everyone in the audience here. Please do let us know if you have any questions, particularly for the Capstone project or the program we're talking about. So also, as we have talked about the Capstone projects here, you get to cover a lot of industry-based hands-on projects you get to choose to work on. As you can see, there are so many projects here: a multi-cloud connection architecture, deployment of a multi-cloud application, multi-time web application here, and many more others which you get to basically work on this program through this program here. So let's talk about the learning environment of the program in much more detail here. So Andy, over to you. If you can share your screen and showcase them the learning environment of the UT Dallas Cloud Computing Bootcamp here.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just answering a question. I will continue answering a question later, Kenna. Okay, give me a second here.
Sure.
I'm going to share my screen.
Sure. Also, folks, this is a really good time to go and put down your questions in the Q&A box here, because as we are taking you through the programs here, if you have any questions about the UT Dallas Cloud Computing Bootcamp in general, or also about cloud computing career in general, please do let us know. We'll be taking questions in some time, and also our speaker Andy is trying to answer your questions whenever he's getting the time as well. Please do go and check out the responses in the Q&A box.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to make sure if I could just get a little bit of feedback, maybe just in the it could be in the chat, could be just like a yes or no, that you can see the screen properly and that the text is big enough for you, please.
Sure, folks. Please do let us know in the chat box here if the screen is visible to you. You can just respond it by saying yes here on the chat, or if you have any issues.
Okay, so far so good. I see 2 yeses. If anybody doesn't see well, if you want me to make it bigger, it's not a problem. Okay, I put it at 150% magnification here, but never know what kind of device you're on. Okay, if you're on a cell phone, might be a little small. All right, so this is the actual portal. Now, of course, you're not able to log into the portal yet because you don't have a username and password, right? But when you go to simplylearn.com, you'll say login, username, password, and you're going to be taken to this page over here. So this is the program UT Dallas Cloud Computing Bootcamp. And if you remember that slide with all the steps that I was talking about, right? There was like 7 or 8 steps. These are the steps here. Okay. So we've got, again, the view of the forest, the AWS cloud fundamentals. We got all of these courses here, all the way. You got the DevOps on AWS, and you have the Azure stuff. Okay. So every one of these boxes is a course in itself. So some courses last a couple of days. Other courses last many more than just a couple of days, right? It'll depend. So for example, let's just pick on this one, designing applications and architectures in AWS. If I click that, let's say we're taking that class together. You'll see that you're coming to a page here. This is called the Learning Management System by LMS. You get a training on this. Okay, that's the first step. They're like 1 hour or an hour and a half session. Now, so I'm just going to gloss over this, but you're going to have a full-blown session on it. First, you have self-learning. Now, self-learning is all these kind of videos, and you have the table of contents here on the right that I'm kind of going with my mouse. So for example, let's say you and I were going to start lesson 3 next Wednesday or something like that. Okay. I would tell you in advance, guys, I would really like you to go and look at the videos on lesson 3. We're going to be taking a look at compute services like virtual machines. All right. I would like you to go there, and I'd like you to look at all this. Okay. So you can start looking, let's say you want to learn about EC2 instance metadata, for example. And of course, as you would expect, it's just a video that kind of goes over what instance metadata is. Okay, so it kind of prepares you for the live class, so you don't show up there and you're just totally confused because you're hearing this for the first time. So this is, and also, what if you kind of want to supplement the learning, right? What if you kind of want to go back and brush up on stuff? So it's all here. These are all like newly recorded sessions across all of the 10 sessions in one course over here. So that's good. Now I noticed that a lot of people, or one or two people are saying, I'm not a big fan of just watching recorded videos, and I get you, right? But this is not just this, right? There's the live classes as well. So if you got me as an instructor, we have a time, you show up, and you'll have a little schedule there. You click and you'll be logged in with Zoom, and you get to hear me for the amount of time that's allocated to that class. And the nice thing about the live classes is they're recorded. Okay, so you can go back. I think they'll be available within 24 hours. You can go back and you can look at the whole history of the courses together, because sometimes you want to revise, but also sometimes you're just not available for half an hour, or you were sick that day or something came up, an obligation you had to go to. So you can always go back to the course, and you can always shoot me over some questions. We can have a community chat board here. You see a little community button over here. I check that every couple of days to make sure if anybody has any questions. You're going to be doing some homework, right, during the week, kind of. So you might have some questions and stuff like that. Now, what Rasha was referring to is the assessments. Okay, so in order to kind of pass this one course that I'm going through here, which is 10 classes in total, you're going to have to get to a point where after it's all done, you're going to do one of these two assessments here. See the kind of purple icon here? So this is like a test, a multiple choice test. There's 50 questions. You got to get 70% to pass, and you can do it up to 3 times. Okay, now what's the difference between this one and that one? Well, just different questions. You can do both if you'd like, but you're only required to finish one of these 2 tests. Okay, then you have the end of class projects. Okay, so this one class here, designing applications and architecture in AWS, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects. These are not the capstone projects. This is just a project for that one class, right? And again, every time we meet together, for let's say 3 hours or 4 hours, whatever it is, there's also little projects during that day too, right? But these are the bigger ones for that one class here. And so let's say we go to this one here, right? So here we learn, or you're going to put into place, because you've already learned it through the courses together, is how to connect a database with a web server. Right? So how do you connect the database to a virtual machine, basically running, some web server, maybe Apache or something like that. So they give you a description of, how to go and do that, what they're expecting you to do. You can download a little PDF here. And then once you put that in place, right, you can actually submit your project through this button over here. So you don't have to do, again, all of these 5 projects. Just you pick the one that interests you the most. Now, the reason I'm going kind of through these assessments is because eventually you want to unlock your certificate for this one class over here. So what are the criterias? Criterias is you complete one class, you attend 80% or more of the sessions, right? So that's with me, right? You got to be there at least 80% of the time, right? So the system kind of records you logging in and staying there and all that kind of stuff. That test that I talked about, right? One of them for 70%. And again, one of the 5 projects you got to finish. If you do all those 3 things, you get that one certificate for this one class. And then this thing repeats over and over again for all of the steps up that ladder. Okay. Now, the cool part here is the practice labs, right? So what's integrated in here, you can launch a lab. And what'll happen is, and because I'm in an AWS class now, it's going to prepare a test environment for you in the AWS console, right? And it'll give you a link to that environment. So let me just open that up, and I just want to make sure I don't get a problem here with pre-logged in things here. Let me just kind of open up a okay, let me put that in there. That'll bring you to the AWS console to log in. Let me make this bigger again, because all right, so it'll pre-populated your account ID, and now of course you're going to want to go get here the username, and you're going to want to go get the password. You're going to log in. And this is going to give you a safe environment. This is part of the course. You're not going to break anything. You're not going to get charged for anything. You can do no harm. Okay, this is a safe environment. And this is where you get to do all your practices. You get to do the, follow along, maybe try to replicate the demos I did. I do lots of demos. They're recorded, right? So anyways, you can ask questions live in the class, but if ever you go back a couple of weeks later, you might forget, right? So you can reproduce them. Now, of course, this would be, I would have to showcase, like in a class, what are we looking at here, right? But you can easily just type in here and say, hey, what if I wanted to create that, virtual machine that's referenced as the Elastic Compute Cloud, right? You would come in here and then you would, follow along the steps that I show you how to actually create a virtual machine. So these lab environments, right, I can just launch an instance right here. And again, a little bit out of the scope. This is a webinar on the course, but I would actually showcase all of this for you in the class, how to create a virtual machine. These environments are good for 8 hours. Okay. And then if you want to do it again, you just create another environment. And it's the same thing for Azure. Okay. We have a safe environment for you. That's part of the class to actually go and play with all of these services. Like I said, there's lots and lots of services in AWS. I said there was over about 200, right? That's for sure. So if you kind of go to the services tab, they're all broken up into categories. So for example, if you want to know what's available in containers, right, you can see all these services in AWS that deal with working with containers. So that is the testing environment. And last thing would be the community. So, I would create a kind of dashboard for us where we can go and communicate during the week for the lifetime of the whole course together. And if ever you had some technical difficulties with your lab, something's not working and you can't log in, that kind of stuff, then we have help. All right. So help actually allows you to talk to someone pretty much in real time. And you can also explore kind of, their pre-recorded responses there. So there's, a wealth of information here. You got help. Anytime I've had issues with help, I can tell you easily within, if it's a live chat within an hour, everything is done for sure, right? So they take good care of you for the support there. All right. So I think from that point, I think I'm done with the demo, Rasha. Okay. I'll concentrate, I'll give it back to you, and I will answer the questions that I see here. I got 2 questions or 3 questions that I'll answer while you kind of take it over there.
Sure. Thank you so much, Andy, for taking us through the learning environment here of the AWS Cloud Computing Bootcamp. For folks, I think we've gotten a few questions in the Q&A box. Please do let us know if you have any questions about the learning environment or the program in general, both for folks who have joined us live on YouTube and here on Zoom as well. So as you continue to basically check out the questions in the Q&A box and answer them, we have global leaders as program advisors here. So Dinesh Bhatia, who is the professor and department head at the University of Texas at Dallas, and Benjamin Corin Schaffer here, who's associate professor at the University of Texas Dallas. Make sure that Simplilearn is delivering to as per standards of the AWS Cloud Computing Bootcamp here. And also, we provide career assist services. We have partnered with Talent Inc. here, where you get access to the premium resume rapid job portal here, and also a resume review and rewrite service as well, which basically you can utilize once you're done with the program and you're planning to basically build your portfolio, which is equally important. Basically, once you're trying to get out there and land the job of your dreams in cloud computing here, and also a one-on-one interview service as well, where you get to basically practice it with the SME here, which is provided by Talent Inc. here. And as we're addressing the quiz here on the program here, please do let us know if you have any questions about the program or cloud computing career in general in the Q&A box. I think Speaker Andy has managed to answer a lot of those questions here in the Q&A box by you folks. So please do go and check out the responses there as well. So this is the time to go and put on your questions in the Q&A box, because we'll be taking a lot of these questions in the Q&A part of the session here. So we have talked about the skills here. We have talked about what career paths will be important in cloud computing, not only in 2024, but also beyond. And we've talked about what's trending in cloud computing. We've talked about the program by Tutellus here in cloud computing here, where it basically how this program builds your skills step by step. And also what exactly are these projects, the Capstone projects, the industrial line projects, which you get to basically cover through this program here. And also, we have talked about how this basically program's learning environment looks like, and what exactly happens once you take up this program. So we would love to know your interest. Would you like to enroll into the Utilitas Cloud Computing Bootcamp? I've just launched a poll here. You can share your interest towards enrollment by responding to yes on the poll here. And we would love to address any query you have also about the program or cloud computing career in general. For folks who have joined us live on YouTube, I'm just sharing the program link here. I see a lot of yeses here coming on the YouTube live chat box for enrollment to the Utilitas Cloud Computing Bootcamp. That's great. But let me just quickly share the program link here for you folks who have joined us live on YouTube. So a lot of yeses there. But let me just quickly share the link for you. You can find the link on the top of the description of this YouTube live chat box as well, in case you want to check out basically the link towards the program. But I'll just quickly go and share the link with you on the chat box. Just give me a second. Meanwhile, I see a lot of you folks have already started sharing your responses for the poll, which is launched on Zoom as well. So let me just quickly share it with folks who have shared responses they would like to enroll into the program. Awesome. For folks who have joined us on YouTube Live, please click on the description of the program. You'll find the link towards the Utilitas Cloud Computing Bootcamp on the top of the description. Please click on that and share your details if you're interested in enrolling the program. And folks here on Zoom, I see a lot of you have already shared interest towards enrollment of the program. That's great. But I think let's just give like 5 seconds more, 5-10 seconds more for a few of the folks who are still thinking about it. So we'll be sharing the program schedule and also the program fee. I think some of you have asked us about the program fee and when is the upcoming cohort and all these details about the program on the YouTube live chat box. And also I see a few questions in the Q&A box as well. While we are answering and addressing most of your queries in the Q&A box, we would love to know if you're interested in enrolling to the Utilitas Cloud Computing Bootcamp here. So last 5 seconds, folks, you can share your interest towards enrollment into the Utilitas Cloud Computing Bootcamp by sharing yes as a response in this poll here. And for folks who have joined us live on YouTube, you can just go to the YouTube description box and you will see a link on the top for the Utilitas Cloud Computing Bootcamp. Just click on that and it will take you to the page and you can fill in your details and share interest towards enrollment there. So last 5 seconds, folks, would you like to enroll into the Utilitas Cloud Computing Bootcamp? You can share option yes, select that option in order to share your interest towards enrollment. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me quickly end the poll. Thank you so much. I saw the polls moving even when I was talking about it, but I had to end the poll. I'm so sorry. So yeah, let me quickly take you through the enrollment steps of the program here. So once basically you have already shared your interest towards enrollment into the Utilist Cloud Computing Bootcamp through this enrollment poll here, and also through the YouTube live chat box link there as well. So the learning consultants from Simplilearn will be getting in touch with you, and they'll be making you follow these three simple easy steps, which I'll just take you through quickly. So you have an idea when they reach out to you. So you need to submit an application to us at askus@simplilearn.net. I'll share that email ID once I'm done with the slide. And also your application will be going for review based on the eligibility and the prerequisites we have already shared in the previous slides. And based on that, you'll be getting admissions offer from Simplilearn, and the learning consultants will be reaching out to you with all the details of that. And I think someone asked when is the next upcoming cohort for this program. So that will be announced soon. It will be in the coming months. So you'll be getting to know from a learning consultant from Simplilearn when they get in touch with you. And also the program fee for this. I think a lot of you have asked like what is the fee of this program on the YouTube live chat box as well. So the program for this program is 8,000 USD dollars, and this includes taxes. I think some of you have also asked if you have any financing options available with the banks. Yes, we do, and it is for as low as $700 per month. So if you need any assistance, you can reach out to us at askus@simplilearn.net. I'll just quickly share that email ID on the chat here for your reference here. And also, folks, we take very limited folks per cohort. So we only take some 25 to 30 folks per cohort in order to make sure they're getting all the attention that is required when you're taking up this program. So make sure if you actually are planning to enroll immediately and also for the upcoming cohort, which will be announced soon for the Utilist Cloud Community Bootcamp, please make sure to select the upcoming immediate next cohort here. So moving on to the Q&A part of the session, I think, Andy, we have gotten a lot of interesting questions in the Q&A box, which you have managed to answer throughout the session. Thank you for that. But maybe if you would like to point out some important questions here, which will be helpful for others as well, please feel free to do that as well. And folks who have joined us live on YouTube, please do let us know if you have any questions for our speaker, Andy.
Yeah, I might be getting some follow-up questions here from Kene. He wanted to know what kind of future certificates, maybe after this entire program to navigates to, but I was just asking him if, what kind of job role would he like, or does he have currently for me to make that recommendation?
Yeah, and I think we have answered all of the questions here. Thank you so much, Andy, for actively answering these questions throughout the session. So we are towards the end of the program here. And thank you so much, Andy, for taking the time out for this program review of Utilist Cloud Computing Bootcamp. Would you like to say something to the folks here before we end the session?
Yeah, I would say that it is never too late to learn about the cloud. I know some of us might feel that, the cloud's been around for a long time. We've missed the boat, so to speak. There's not going to be any jobs left by the time I kind of get through it, because, the cloud's been there for 10 years. But that's actually not true at all. Actually, this is how I felt many years ago, which is even funnier. The cloud is growing more and more every year. And like I said, there's some big cloud providers out there like Azure and AWS. And by no means are you behind in learning the cloud. You will pick this up very quickly in 8 months. And I'm sure you will have no problem getting into the job market after that. I mean, I constantly am on LinkedIn every day, and I just, it's just amazing to see the number of jobs out there in the cloud. So I would just say, just dive in and get into the cloud and get your certifications.
Totally agree to that. Thank you so much, Andy. And thank you so much, everyone, for being an active audience here and sending us interesting questions here, which we have loved to address all of them. So thank you so much, folks. And we saw a lot of interest towards enrollment into the Utilist Cloud Computing Bootcamp. And I'm hoping to see you in the upcoming cohort of this program. So thank you so much, folks. Have a good day. Have a good night wherever you're joining us from. Thank you so much. We'll be ending the session now.
I know.